golly, that's good.
I haven't found my first Blanton's.
Wow. That's different. I really like that.
Peychauds or Peychauds or...
Yeah, now I'm gorgeous. Although probably fuzzier was better. Okay. So this is not what I expected. Hey, how's it going? It's Wednesday. I'm sorry to throw a wrench into things and not do it tomorrow, but tomorrow I'm going to be back out of town doing some work again, so thought if I was going to do this, it better be tonight. I don't know if I'll have time on Friday. Friday looks like a kind of a busy day, but if I can squeeze another one in there, give you a little bonus one, I will. I want to wrap up this series. We still have a bunch of stuff that we haven't done for beginners bourbons. So I do want to make sure that that we get through all that, because there's a lot more. And you know, I like this series because so many people have come to me and said, "How do I start? How does my wife start? How do I get my husband into bourbon?" You know, I'm ready for something different. I'm sick of what I'm drinking. So yeah, we'll just try some different things. Hey Jeff, how are you? I did get your text. Thank you for the reminder, but we're here. It's been one of those days. I did manly things today. I have this this apple tree that has just gone crazy over the last 8 years, and finally I got a pole saw. It's a chainsaw on the end of a pole, so I was chopping that all up today, and now I've got apple wood for smoking too. All right, well, without any further ado, we're going to get into this. What we're doing is TINCUP. Now, TINCUP is it's essentially a bourbon, but they cannot call it a bourbon because of some of the things that they do to it that makes it different. Now, I will tell you that the first time that I had TINCUP, I was underwhelmed. And quite frankly, I expect to be underwhelmed again today, because everything that I read online is all about how they cut this to be a smooth drinking whiskey. There's something floating in front of my face. Now, smooth drinking whiskey means different things to bourbon drinkers. If you're looking for something that has no bite, has a little bit of flavor, is a great starter into bourbon, TINCUP might be your girl. But for me, an experienced bourbon drinker and a certified bourbon steward, it's not enough. It needs... And I'm not the only one that thought that. I did take some time over the last couple of days to go through and hey Kevin, I'm a beginner, teach me. Yeah. Hey Aaron, how are you? I'm a beginner, teach me. If you've never had this, if you're curious, go for it. But I forgot what I was saying. But I was saying that different places that I went online and did some research, they kind of feel the same way that I do, that this could be really, really good if they would just amp it up a little bit. You know, instead of 80 proof, go to 90 proof, go to 92, go to 90 something. Just bring it up. Now, this is just one that we're going to be trying. This is the TINCUP, what they call the original. We are going to be doing the TINCUP 10 year, which I have not tried. So I'm hearing that this one has better flavor, but still needs to get amped up a little bit. And then lastly, we will be going with a 90 proof rye, the TINCUP Rye. I was going to say tin roof, rusted. No, TINCUP. And I have been criticized enough recently about the way I do this that I have gone ahead and opened the bottle. Okay? I opened the bottle. I haven't sniffed it. I haven't tasted it. But I opened the bottle like a half hour ago just so it would be ready and you guys wouldn't be watching me open the bottle. You happy? See, I listen. All right. I'm going to give myself a decent pour because I know it's not going to do anything to me. Okay. Ooh, you got my attention now. All right. Good. So, TINCUP. While this is sitting, I'm not going to let it sit too long, but I said it's not a bourbon. I said it can't call itself a bourbon, and now I'm going to tell you why. I could have just used the tin cup that it comes with, it's supposed to be reminiscent of pioneering days. This is a Colorado whiskey. It's all about Colorado, all about the Rocky Mountains. It's cut with Rocky Mountain water, which, you know, that was a big deal back in the 70s when they were marketing Coors. Maybe it still is, I don't know. But they make a big, just like Kentucky makes a big deal out of cutting their whiskey with limestone water, water filtered by limestone. These guys make a big deal out of Rocky Mountain water. Okay. So, Tin Cup isn't a bourbon, but an American whiskey. It does contain a high rye bourbon mash bill of 64% corn, 32% rye, and 4% malted barley sourced from MGP in Indiana. So, everything in this bottle, by the way, is sourced. They don't do their own booze. And I don't have a problem with that. MGP is pretty magnanimous. They're all over the place. They're in all sorts of different bottles, and that's fine. What matters is, yeah, I mean, it'd be cool if they made their own, but at the same time, what really matters is that they put it in their barrels and how they store it, temperatures, all those types of things, what the char is, what the toast is. You know, that's where the flavor comes from. Alcohol is alcohol. Mash bill is mash bill, right? So, but theirs is out of MGP, 64, 32, and 4% malted barley, and then a small percentage of Stranahan's Colorado whiskey is added to the product. Stranahan's is a malted, I want to make sure I get this right. It's a single malt whiskey, is what they call it. And what Stranahan's is 100% malted barley. No corn, no rye. I've never had a malted barley bourbon, not yet. But that's what goes in here. So Stranahan's is another Colorado product. As a matter of fact, it was the master distiller from Stranahan's who went to New York and is now working with Metallica on Blackened. And with Whistle Pig and everything else. So just a little bit of insider knowledge there. But because they're using malted barley whiskey, that's why you cannot call this a bourbon. Because they mix it with single malt whiskey. Now, interestingly enough, single malt whiskey has not had a governmental regulation like bourbon does. Bourbon has to have 51% corn, has to be barreled at no more than 160 proof, and has to be bottled at no more than 125 proof, and blah, 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 right? You know that there's certain things that make it bourbon and not whiskey. Well, those things really didn't exist for a single malt whiskey until now. Booze news. While many producers, like Stranahan's, use the term American single malt whiskey on their labels, there's not any yet formal, legally enforced definition for the category. Well, there is now. In a recent newsletter, the ASMWC said the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, the TTB, the U.S. government organization in charge of alcohol labeling laws, is poised to publish a new rule this December. It's going to be a Christmas present. That formally defines American single malt whiskey. So, American single malt could be enshrined into law by spring of next year. Because it's normally like a 90-day thing. Once the law is passed, it takes 90 days for the law to come into effect. So, according to the definition, American single malts must be made from 100% malted barley, distilled entirely at one distillery, which, if it's MGP, fine. If it's Stranahan's, fine. One distillery. Mashed, distilled, and matured in the U.S. So, American single malt is going to be a U.S. product, just like bourbon is. Matured in oak casks of no more than 700 liters. Distilled to no more than 80% of alcohol by volume. That's high. That's 160 proof, if anybody decides to go that far with it. And bottled, oh, that's distilled at no, okay. I should keep reading. And bottled at no less than 40% alcohol by volume, so that's 80 proof, which is what we're drinking now. So That's brand new. That's brand new. Now, they can make that law. It's not going to turn this into a bourbon. It's still going to be a whiskey because it's breaking bourbon rules. So, let's give it a shot here. I didn't bring the ice cubes down. We're not going to do ice tonight, but I am going to do a little bit of water. Yeah. All right, you want to try that rye? Well, I've got it, Aaron. You can come over and try it. I had price points on this stuff, too. What are the price points? TINCUP, this is, it's a $30 bottle, $28.99. Okay. Is it worth it, though? I mean, when you can get Jim Beam for a lot less money, I don't know. You know what? It's better than I remember. Now, I've been drinking low proofers, so I'm comparing it to that. That's not bad. That actually reminds me of the bite of the Four Roses. This is only 80 proof. Boy, I'm going to go back to 100 proof here before too long, and I'm going to be unable to get through the first drink. It's got a different flavor. It's pleasurable. One of the things about having a high corn content is you're not necessarily going to get the sweetness out of that corn. Sweetness comes out of other things. A lot of times the barley is what brings the sweetness into it. But this has got definitely, it's corn present, and it's good. It tastes good. I don't know. There's only a trace of the Stranahans in there. Just there's not a lot there, but I want to say that malted barley whiskey adds something to it. It's got some dimension to it. This is far better than the last time I tried it. Tastes change. It's not as thin as Basil Hayden. I'm still not a fan of Basil Hayden. That's thin. This is not as thin as Basil Hayden. It's not. It's easy drinking. It's going to have a little bit more bite than some of the other ones that we tried, like the Jim Beam and the Wild Turkey, the lower proof one, which was that one? No. That one? Yeah, Wild Turkey. This one was 81 proof. So this is a higher proof than this, but this, I think, is a little smoother and more flavorful, although now finally getting back to this for the first time in a long time. It's got a fruitiness to it, just a little bit. There's a very, very, like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Acidity. It's got a citrus acidity, which is a good thing. It's got maybe a little chocolate. It's got definitely cereal, like toasted cereal. There's a little bit, maybe honey. I'm not going to say that there's some of the normal notes because this is different. It's got a buttery mouthfeel, reminiscent of butter. Pairs nicely with a mid-rare ribeye. Yeah, Jeff is drinking a TINCUP along with me, and you know, I've been very ruthless to TINCUP. I've been mean to TINCUP, but I would drink this. It's not as bad as I was giving it no credit for. It's actually pretty decent. It's got a good flavor. It is smooth. That barley in there and the higher rye content it's a little bit spicy, a little bitey. So would I recommend this for a new drinker? I don't know. Let's see what happens. I should have done this before because I'm just going to do a little bit. I am going to put some water on it and see what it does. See if it changes the mouthfeel, see if it changes the spice. Just see what it does. I'm curious. Curious. All right. That was quite a bit of water. All right. You got toasted cereal and honey. Maybe a little toffee. Yeah, I'm with you. Toffee, that's actually a pretty good descriptor. All right. Just a little bit of, well, not quite 50-50 water, but I added some water to it, which is going to cut the proof down even more. All right, if you want the flavor, but not the bite in the spice, there's still some spice in there, but a nice squirt of water will take even that little bit of bite that's there out. I'm not advocating that anybody make it any more mellow than it is, but if it's still too much for a beginner, a little water will take care of it. I would always go for water instead of ice. I know a lot of people like a cold drink. And if you like a cold drink, then fine, put your water in the refrigerator or something like that. But the truth of the matter is that the more you cool down your drink, the more you mute the flavors. So if you want to cut it down, use water and not ice, unless you really, really want a cold drink. And if you want a really, really cold drink, use a better bourbon or a better whiskey. All right. So that is the Tin Cup, and I will tell you, I kind of like it. I could drink that. Let's move on. Let's go to the 10-year. The 10-year, the people online said that it was better than this, but they still wanted a little more oomph. Let me read a little bit more about this. The Tin Cup is a shot glass as a cute gimmick and harkens back to frontier days when the days was... and harkens back to frontier's days when the West was tamed. Now this I laughed out loud, and I don't laugh out loud and tell you that I LOL'd. If I laughed out loud, I freaking laughed out loud. Okay, on the website it talks about the hexagonal bottle, and they said that it is to help keep the bottle from rolling down the mountain. I told you, man, they're embracing this Rocky Mountains stuff. It's going to keep it from rolling down the mountain. Yes, I pre-opened it, Aaron. Goodness gracious. All right. What keeps me from believing in the frontier-esque facade of Tin Cup is that it's 80 proof, right? When I think of a frontier whiskey, I think of something that's going to at least be 90. So, and the other thing, too, when I think of frontier whiskey, Bulleit is what I think of because it's called frontier whiskey. Bulleit bourbon, frontier, whiskey. Even though Bulleit's made in Kentucky and not the frontier. Either way, I do think they need to go with a higher proof, but we'll see. Okay, so Tin Cup, by the way, is stored 5,251 feet above sea level. You got to have your gimmick. You know, Kentucky's not that high above sea level, and you know they've got their rick houses and they do what they do, and it's got their own climate. And Kentucky bourbon is popular because of the climate that it's got. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold. Rocky Mountains at 5,000 feet up, it's going to be kind of about the same, really. It's going to be kind of temperate. It's not going to be all the time cold like if you're way up in the 12,000 foot mark. He did. Yes, I opened it. All right, so this is the 10-year. This is the exact same mash bill as this, Only instead of the 4 years that this is in the barrel, this is 10 years. Okay? Now, yeah, that's right. That's right. So they get it from MGP and Stranahan's. This is 4 year. This is barreled for 10 years. And it's a number 3 char. All right. This has already got better nose than the original. Cranky tonight. I need to drink a little more. I'm cranky. He says I'm cranky. I'm not cranky. I'm never cranky when I have bourbon. I am flipping tired, though, after cutting down that tree. Or, okay. There is some more presence there, but it's in different ways. That toasted cereal come out a little bit more. There is some caramel in this one. I don't think it adds that much. I mean, the colors, you could tell the colors. This is the original. This is the 10-year. So being in that number 3 char for an extra 6 years did change the color, and it did bring out a little bit more. I don't know if it brought out anything better. I think if it was going to be in there for 10 years, they should up the proof a little bit. Really distinguish the two. Because right now, they don't seem necessarily distinguished from each other. And this one is a $51.99 bottle. So it jumps from $28.99 to $51.99 for the 10-year. Don't buy the 10-year. It's not worth it. I wanted it to be worth it, but without a higher proof, it doesn't do anything else. It's just got a little bit of extra spice, barrel spice, that char, that smoke. There, just a little bit more. There's just a little bit more presence on the palate, but not much. Let's keep this rated G. Or at least PG, Aaron. All right. See what happens when I cut it down. The toffee, I think, came out a little bit more. Again, not much. There's not enough of an incremental difference between the two to charge $30 more for this one. Or $25 more. You do the math. I'm drinking. All right. And no, I'm not using the tin cups because I'm thumbing my nose. I didn't wash them. Because I just opened these like half hour ago. I know if I was a real frontiersman enjoying the Rocky Mountain water and this stuff, I'd just drink it right from it and be a man. No! All right. They're virtually the same. It's got a little bit more got a little marshmallow to it, a little toasted marshmallow, toasted cereal. That char definitely has made a difference in it. Water didn't change it appreciably. It's just, this is too much money for what you're getting. All right. Careful, we might get scolded tonight. I'm not going to get scolded. I'm not your parent. And I'm drinking, so I'm not in the place to scold. All right, the rye. Now, let me check something real quick. I want to make sure. Okay, so the 10-year is actually higher proof. It's 84. I suppose. I am feeling a little bit of a tingle just on the inside of my lips here. I still don't think it's worth the extra 25 bucks. I just don't. All right. The rye is a 90 proof rye, aged only 3 years. It has a mash bill of 95% rye and 5% malted barley, no corn. So, if you're looking for a low proof rye, see, open. All right. Nope. Yep. All right. All right. So this is the TINCUP Rye. Very similar in color to the 10-year, which is interesting considering it only aged for 3 years, not 10. 90 proof. No corn in the mash bill. And the malted barley is only 5%. And it's not a malted whiskey that's in it. It's the actual malted barley, which is different. All right. That's a very unusual nose. Something smelled minty, but at the same time it smelled like leather. Yeah, I'll back that up. Yep. That is unusual. It's got I'm getting those buttery notes, those again, those toasted cereals, which is really common with rye. We'll try it. This is probably an MGP rye, by the way. MGP in Indiana is like the American king of rye. If you want rye that isn't from MGP, you're probably getting it from Alberta. I will tell you right now, this is not a good one to drink after drinking those. They do not pair well. I'm getting bowling shoe leather. That's what it reminds me of, is a bowling shoe. I need to give it a second. Ryes have become some of my favorite. Yeah. No, I know they have been, and I really like a good rye. And this might be a really good rye. I just need to let it settle for a minute because I got these two on my palate, and the rye is not the rye's not shining, shall we say it that way? I want to give it a better taste. I'll just give it a minute here while I read the notes. I got this from Breaking Bourbon. Let's go to the rye here. This is not my photo, but I did think it was pretty cool. Chew and cowboy boot. Yeah, Kevin. Yeah! Yes, chew! Yes! Anyway. All right, it says there's no ignoring the fact that this is another young MGP rye. Told you! With the wealth of brands adding a rye whiskey to the portfolio, some choose to distill it themselves, and many choose to source from MGP. It's hard to stand out from the MGP crowd when you almost exclusively have to rely on nuanced changes between the barrels. TINCUP tries to differentiate their products by cutting them with Rocky Mountain water. Despite so many brands claiming how great their local water is, it isn't always clear as day how much water has an effect on the base whiskey. Oddly enough, though, TINCUP Rye does have a certain spring water characteristic about it. Okay. For a rye, it is surprisingly mellow and easy drinking. It doesn't necessarily come across as overly diluted, but is noticeably more mellow than you'd expect. Comparing it to Bullet 95 Rye, which is also 90 proof and sourced from MGP, this is especially true. It has a creamier mouthfeel, softer palate, which is much more delicate, which is exactly what TINCUP is going for, which, by the way, is made in TINCUP, Colorado. Quinky dink. Flavor-wise, there aren't night and day differences, which is to be expected. Between ryes, they're probably right. Between these, difference. But it's interesting to see the minute differences between the two and how much more, dare I say it, smoother TINCUP Rye is. It's not a shockingly huge difference, but when many are sourcing from the same distillery, it does make a difference. Okay, that's my notes. That's all I got. The only water I have, Aaron, is this. So... so refreshing. All right, let's give this a shot. Give it a fair shot. Has a lot of the characteristics of rye. And, you know, like Aaron said, he's liking ryes. I'm liking ryes. They have a buttery mouthfeel. They bring you a toasted cereal, butter, honey, marshmallow type of a taste to it. I like the Bullet better, but the Bullet has a higher proof and is aged in barrels in Kentucky with a different char. It's their own thing. This is done the way TINCUP does it, and it is smooth. It's very smooth. For a rye, it's very smooth. There's no corn in this mash bill. It's 95% rye and then malted barley. That's it. It still has leather on the palate, on the front of the palate. Definitely a leathery. That's not a bad thing. You know, when you think about leather, you think about how awesome it smells. You know, whether it's a holster or a cowboy boot or a, you know, then you go the other side of things, which is like a Corinthian leather, like cigar bar or something like that. It's just, you know, the leather is a good note to put on things. This, I'm going to give you more of the frontier style leather, the holster, the gun belt, the new cowboy boot. Just, it's a different type of leather. It's not even what you'd get in a new car. It's just different. But that's kind of what I'm getting. It's funny because I really did not like rye drinks at first at all. I know. Rye was not something you were into, but again, as your palate matures and you start trying new things and you get away from what you're used to, then the world opens up. And rye, I mean, bourbon is bourbon, and bourbon is huge right now, and it's tough to find the ones that you want. But rye is making a comeback as well. You know, back before Prohibition, a lot of whiskeys were ryes. They didn't have bourbon in the strict sense like they did rye. I mean, it was there, but rye was still the number one thing. And if you're doing a mixed drink, rye is still preferred in a lot of cases. Now, people are using bourbon because bourbon is so hot right now. But most of the time in old-fashioned or Manhattan or whatever, they're done with ryes. Because rye is normally more spicy and it'll cut through the things that you're adding to the cocktail. So you'll still get that taste of whiskey with the rest of the cocktail. So a lot of cocktails are supposed to be made with rye, even if they're not these days. One more. Let's do water. Let's do a little water. Just one little squirt. Here we go. Wow. As is the case with other ryes, a squirt of water actually clear. It jolted this to life. The pop of the spice came out. The proof felt proofier. It actually cut the proof down, but it felt like there was more of a bite to it. More spice, more presence. Reminded me more of the Bullet, even though it's still different flavor because of the barrels that they're in. But that was a significant difference, and I like it better on water than I did just by itself. That was actually quite tasty. I'm gonna have to do that again, just because I gulped that one. I just want to make sure I'm right. Yeah, that's why. I just want to make sure I'm right. That's all. Oh, that's the 10-year. Shoot. Now what am I to do? You saw nothing. Oh, you know what? I'm going to be trying this back to back, and then I won't like the rye again. That's the 10-year cup. We'll just hope that it's clean and put it in there. We'll come back to you later. That's funny. All right. Okay, we're going to do 2 tastes. One without water and one with. And that would have really messed up everything if I'd had that 10-year. I'd have thrown everything off. Still not my favorite. It's got that bowling shoe leather. And chew. Although I like the taste of chew. I haven't had it in a really long time, but I like the taste of chew. All right. Wonder if people who smoke cigarettes for 20 years or can be 10 years out and say they still like the taste of a cigarette. I'm not a smoker, never have been, but I did chew for a long time. And I would still enjoy it if I wasn't afraid of dying of it. And it's kind of gross. Okay. Yeah. That really balances things out for me. That rye neat, again, it's probably tainted because of these two, but by golly, neat just doesn't do it for me. It's just got these flavors that are not my favorite, but put a little water on it really helps the good stuff find its way through. I like that. One of these days I'm going to do a back-to-back with different ryes. We'll choose this one. We'll choose the ryes of similar mash bills. So we'll do this one, we'll do Bullet, and I'll maybe pick another one. We'll do that later. I'm not done with the beginning bourbons yet, but and beginning whiskeys. But someday I'll do a back-to-back rye comparison of similar mash bills and just play with it, see what that flight's like. But that's really it today. The tin cup, the original, the one that's only $28.99, is better than I remembered. Thank goodness. The 10-year, which is way overpriced at $51.99. It had a few extra notes, but not worth the $25 or whatever the math is. If you're going to get a tin cup whiskey, get that one. Get the original. Don't spend a lot. The 10-year just isn't enough of a change to make it worth it. Excuse me. The rye, now that's different. That's got some different notes to it. I would drink it before you drink anything else. I would not put it back to back with anything unless it's another rye with a similar mash bill. just because I don't think I did it any favors. I'm getting flavors off of it that are not complimentary. And it could be better than that. Although, Kevin tried it, and he had the same notes that I did. So maybe I didn't taint it that bad. All right, so tomorrow, of course, I'm going to be out of town, which is why we're doing this tonight. And by the way, thank you, everybody, for joining us on a night that isn't normal. If you prefer Wednesday to Thursday, let me know. We'll do Wednesdays instead of Thursdays. I want to make it easier for you. I want to make it easy on me. Wednesday would work out great for me. Thursdays are fine, too. Just let me know which one you prefer, and that's when we'll do it. If you like Wednesdays, good. All right, so yet to come. I'll leave that there. We're going to go after some that have been suggested for beginning bourbons. One of them is Maker's Mark. Now these are going to be a lot different. Maker's Mark is a wheated bourbon. So to put this up against other ones may not be fair to the other ones. If I put them up first, it may not be fair to this one. So I'm just going to say that in advance. Another one that was recommended was the Long Branch. This is 86 proof. The Maker's Mark is 90 proof. That may be a little heavy for a first timer. Another one that was recommended is the Traverse City Whiskey. This one is 86 proof. I've never had this before. I've had these in the past. I've never had that. So we may do a Traverse City because I've got 3 bottles of Traverse City. So we may do that separate from everything else. Different bottles. Another one that kind of hit the radar is Sagamore Spirit. This is a rye that is 83 proof. So that might fit in line with the TINCUP Rye because it's a low proof. I don't know if it's MGP. I'd have to look it up. It says it's Maryland. Because that's what Maryland is known for, their bourbon and their whiskey and their rye. Not. Other ryes that I have sitting here, and this probably will be its own, but I have a Templeton 4, and I've done Templeton before, and Templeton 6, which I've not done. These are the years that they're barreled. And then I've just got a couple of more down here. I've got the Very Old Barton. This is an 86 proof. This is not available in the state of Ohio, but I'll tell you what. If you're out of state and you find Very Old Barton, even if it's only 86 proof, this is a good pour. And it's inexpensive. It's very inexpensive. It's like stupid cheap, like not even 20 bucks. Good. And then the other one that's like that is another one I really like, and this is 80 proof, Old Fitzgerald. This is the bottom of the Old Fitzgerald line. And this you have to get out of state to get it as well. But this is delicious. I've had these before. I love them. Very, very good. I'm going back to Kentucky tomorrow. Maybe I'll just stop somewhere and pick some up. I've only got 2 bottles of each. That's not enough. Not enough, I say. So anyway, we've got a journey left to go. I don't know exactly what we're going to do next. Traverse City. Kevin's talking. Traverse City Full Proof is delicious, by the way. I've got that one. I think I've got that one. Like I said, I've got 3 different Traverse City, and I'm thinking I'm going to do all the Traverse City in one night rather than part of a beginner's flight, because I want to give them all their due, and I'm going to guess that they're all of similar mash bill. They're just different proofs. But like I said, I got 3 different ones. One might be a rye. I have to look. But we'll get to these. Maybe not all at once. Maybe as part of another series of some sort, like MGP ryes or ryes of similar mash bills, wheated bourbons. I could put this up against Weller Special Reserve. That's wheated. I could put it up against Larceny. That's a wheated bourbon. So instead of rye, they use wheat. Some people like it, some people don't. Some people don't know the dang difference. So, anyway. Hey, this has been fun. this is a nice piggyback to the beginning whiskeys that we've been doing. So I'm going to call this Beginning Whiskeys Part 3, but it's also just a flight of Tin Cup. Because I've got these bottles sitting here. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and it just kind of belongs in the Beginning Whiskeys. Even though it has more flavor than I remembered, and it's definitely better than Basil Hayden. Basil Hayden. The thing about Basil Hayden is it's just got nothing happening. One more. This cork was tough to get off last week. I'm going to give it another assessment. I know it's back-to-back with that rye. So I'm not going to go for taste. I'm just going to go for mouthfeel and that kind of thing. Basil Hayden. I do like the toast better than this Basil Hayden. Not much more. Still doesn't do much for me. All right. Decent nose. Now, in the glass I used last week, I couldn't find a nose for Basil Hayden, so a Glencairn is a very good idea for the Basil Hayden. Let's put this up here. Since I'm drinking it, we'll put it up here. I like to be fair. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not wrong about this. Vanilla on the nose, hazelnut. Some caramel. I'm using the same glass, so it could be mixing in with other things. But I thought I drained it pretty good, but I don't know. Here we go. Nothing. Till you swallow it, it's nothing. I don't want you to introduce brand new bourbon drinkers to this one because it just doesn't do anything. It has no flavor. And then when you swallow it, punches you in the gut on the way out. It saves everything for the swallow. And that's not what you want to introduce a brand new bourbon drinker to. If you want to try Basil Hayden and pay too much for crap, go ahead and pay too much for crap. I don't like this. I don't think I'll ever like it. I will never recommend it to anybody. When people say that it's the greatest thing ever, I just sit back and quiet. I don't need to argue with somebody because they're wrong. You may like it. It may be a good beginning bourbon for you. I don't think it is because of what happens when you swallow it. It just punches you in the back of the throat. But here, there's not enough going on. The toast is mildly better. The toast has some flavor, but not much. Not enough to give an extra $10 for it. Is that what it was? Basil Hayden, yeah. Basil Hayden regular is $40. Basil Hayden toast is $50. Neither one of them are worth it. That's barely it. That's not even a $15 bottle as far as flavor and everything goes. It's not that good. I don't see why it's priced so high. It's not worth it. But I give it another shot. I'll do it. You know what? Let's do water. These are things I didn't do last week, so I'll do it this week. I'll give it a proper tasting. See if water helps it any. Water did help it. A lot more flavor when it's cut down a little bit. I can't explain that. It's only 80 proof. When I add water to that little bit, I'm probably dropping it to like 60 proof. But it definitely has more flavor, and it still has the bite on the way down. That's the craziest thing. I don't know what the mash bill is for Basil Hayden. I didn't do any research on it. I don't know if it's like high rye or what it is, but that just blows me away. That you add water to Basil Hayden and all of a sudden now it's got flavor. The heck? Oh my gosh. It's still not a lot, but it has more presence with water on it than without. That's crazy. That's stupid. All right. Hey, this has been fun. It's always fun. I love it when you guys are here, especially on a night. Ooh, I almost spilled that. Especially on a night that I'm not supposed to be here. I am on my way to Lexington, Kentucky for work tomorrow. I always love going down there. It's a neat job to have. I'm not going to go into what the job is, but it goes along with my not the bourbon stuff, with my actual vocation. And it's just fun. Great people to work with, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sorry I'm going to miss you tomorrow. I'm going to be on the road for about 4 hours there, do the gig, and 4 hours back. And that's the extent of it. So, but maybe we'll be back Friday night. Maybe we'll hit some of these Friday night just for the fun of it. I know it's going to be another off night, but if you're not doing anything, if you're not, watching a football game or something, I may not do it either. I may have a fire outside and just sit there and watch the flames. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. If not, I'll see you next Thursday for another beautiful bourbon when we get back into the last of the beginning whiskeys for newcomers. All right. So again, thank you so much for being a part of this, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Don't forget to share us if you like what we did here tonight. This is going to be recorded. Share it right off the page, the whole Bourbcast. Go to Instagram at Beautiful Bourbon. I'm starting to get better at doing the YouTube stuff, so YouTube, and that is at Beautiful Bourbon. And of course the blog, which I'm getting better at as well. I'm trying to get all this stuff populated, and that is beautifulbourbon.com. So check all those out, and again, thank you so much, and we will see you next time.